The next force which is introduced in this list was electromagnetic force. It obeys inverse square law. This force is independent of path. It is independent of path. It is mass dependent. Mass independent. These forces have velocity which is equal to the velocity of light. These all forces moves with rectilinear propagation. These forces will create a wavelet or wave nature. This wave nature is transverse. Transverse in nature. Which can read the entire information in many electric and magnetic devices through this electromagnetic force. So, the concept was first taught by Mr. James Maxwell. With the help of many other scientists, Oersted explains the passing current can create the magnetic field. Maxwell and Lenz's law and Faraday's law, these all states about the varying magnetic field or time dependent magnetic fields can create the EMF. So both vice versa are possible in every case. So this leads to a great concept called electromagnetic forces. The next point we should discuss is that basic theories which are the conservative theories in physics. So, as we know from our lower classes, there are some theories which some law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of linear momentum, law of conservation of angular momentum, such like that, law of conservation of charge. These are all the examples for the basic theories in the physics. The theories are said to be nature of physical laws. We should discuss four laws mainly. The first one is law of conservation of energy. Second one is law of conservation of linear momentum. Third one is law of conservation of angular momentum. The fourth one is law of conservation of charge. The meaning of the conservation means no change, being constant in everywhere in any position or any situation. So how this is possible in energy and how this is possible in linear and angular momenta and how this is possible in charge, we are going to discuss with some examples. Let me discuss the first one, nothing but the law of conservation of energy. The statement for this one is energy neither created nor be destroyed, but it can change the form. Energy neither created nor be destroyed. But it can change the form. The definition itself says that energy has some variation of forms, variable forms. What are those forms? How it is able to convert? The main basic energy levels are Ke and Pe. If a body is in rest at a position, it has potential energy. While it is moving with velocity, its energy will convert it to Ke. So according to the proof of this theorem, loss in Ke is equal to gain in Pe, as well as vice versa. Loss in Pe is equal to gain in Ke. Suppose if the body is under the motion with velocity, once it is applied to an external force to stop it, then it is losing its kinetic energy. Instead of that loss is replaced by the gain in Pe. Such like that, always there is a gain between the loss and gain between the Ke and Pe. So loss is always indicates with the negative sign, therefore minus Ke is equal to plus Pe, where Pe plus Ke is equal to constant. The same case in the reverse order also, we can expect the same. Not only this one, many examples are there to find out the law of conservation of energy. Next we will see some examples what we have in this state. Suppose a light is there. Light which consumes the electrical energy, giving light energy. That means electrical energy was conserved to light energy. Take a radio. Same electrical energy was converted to sound energy. TV, again, electrical energy is converted to sound energy plus light energy. Next examples, a battery or a cell. Converting chemical energy to electrical energy. A dynamo, converting mechanical energy to electrical energy. A machine or a motor, converting electrical energy to mechanical energy. Electric motor, electrical energy, mechanical. Charging a cell, electrical energy was converted to chemical energy. So what we can expect in all these? Yes, one form of energy is compulsory and converting to the another form. If you see the windmills, wind energy converted to the electrical energy. So if there is a form of energy, there is a compulsory change in that with respect to the given situation. Without the change, energy, these laws are simply violated. So by observing these examples and in this statement, we can prove that law of conservation of energy is possible in all cases. If not, the scenario of this world will be in a different way. The energy which comes from one source is utilized in somewhere. Best example, sun, which gives the solar energy. It was utilized on earth for different purpose. If it is not utilized, or if it is not fragmented to the small ones, to the other shades or to the other shapes, the entire energy will be a waste thing. So it shouldn't be wasted and it should be converted to the another form for the survival of the human being and many other living sources. Such like that, we can assume the conservation of energy. Next we will discuss the remaining conservation theories one by one. The next one is law of conservation of linear momentum. So, the linear momentum definition is P is equal to mass into velocity. So, conservation of linear momentum means the net momentum before collision should be equal to the net momentum after collision. In the absence of external force, the total momentum of a body is constant. The net momentum before collision is equal to the net momentum after the collision. The conclusion of this statement will be given in some work power energy lesson or in the mechanics Newton's laws of motion. So let me have some brief discussion about this. There are two bodies of masses m1, m2 moving with velocities u1, u2. While they approach together relatively, after the collision they will separate. While they are separating, they will move back to the opposite directions, and masses won't change, but their velocities will change from u1 to v1 and u2 to v2. So like this, collision takes place, they will separate like this with v1 velocity of m1 with v2 velocity of m2. So what we can understand, momentum before collision is net momentum means total m1 u1 plus m1 v1 or m2 v2 is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Net momentum before collision with initial velocities is equal to net momentum after collision with final velocities. And what is the one more statement? The second statement is, in the absence of external force, the momentum of a body is constant. We can write, in the absence of external force, the momentum is constant. This law states about the Newton's second law of motion. So what is the proof? F is equal to dp by dt, we know that. If external force is absent, that means F is equal to 0. If F is equal to 0, therefore dp by dt is also equal to 0, such like that P is constant. Because rate of change in momentum, we are saying it as 0, means there is no change in the momentum with respect to time. Simply we can say P is constant. What are the examples for this statement? Gun, the recoiling velocity of the gun. Recoiling of gun. When bullet fired from the gun, the front part will be lean on the shoulder of a soldier because it will give the recoiling. Means after the cracking the bullet to the frontward, firing the bullet to the frontward, automatically the front portion of the gun will moves back with the same velocity. That is called recoiling of gun. Carom board. These all are examples for the law of conservation of momentum. This law of conservation of momentum is an example for the Newton's second law of motion as well as Newton's third law of motion. It includes Newton's second and third law. a swimmer who is using to swim in the water, walking, bicycling. All these are the examples for the law of conservation of linear momentum. Next we will discuss the law of conservation of angular momentum. The next one is law of conservation of angular momentum. This angular momentum is a concept which is related to the rotatory motion or circular motion. Or circular motion. What we can expect in this one? If a body is rotating in a circular path, yes, we know that centripetal force is acting on it. The force which keeps the body towards the center and a force which balances the body away from the center. If force is too much to attract, then this body should merge with the center of the object or center of the circular path, but it is not at all happening. That means the force which is dragging the object is balanced by the other force which is expelling outside. These two forces which are acting on the same body which is under the rotation circular path constitutes a torque. We can say that torque tau is equal to force into perpendicular displacement, where the displacement is nothing but the radius. Dimensionally, this torque is similar to the work done, where force into S in case of work done. The units are Newton meter, but in work done it is joule. The dimensional formulas are same. So what is the statement? Angular momentum conservation means the body which sweeps equal areas in equal intervals of time. This was applied to the planetary motion also. According to the Kepler's second law of planetary motion, the line joining the sun to the planet sweeps equal areas in equal intervals of time. That means dA by dt is equal to 0, where area is constant. This is almost a consequence or analogous to the law of conservation of angular momentum. The Kepler's second law of planetary motion is also called as the law of conservation of angular momentum in planetary motions. So, what is the statement given for this? Yes, the angular momentum of the body is constant throughout the circular path for any n number of rotations, and it constitutes a torque, where torque is equal to dL by dt. L is called angular momentum. Suppose if no external torque is applied, that means in the absence of external torque, absence of external torque means tau will be 0. So automatically dL by dt is equal to 0, therefore L is constant. So what we can say, in the absence of external torque, the angular momentum of the body remains constant. The angular momentum of the body remains constant. This is the definition for the law of conservation of angular momentum. What are the examples? The bodies which are under the circular motion. All giant wheels, the motion of electrons around nucleus. These are all the examples for the law of conservation of angular momentum. The next one is law of conservation of charge. The last one is law of conservation of charge. It is based on the concept of charge. The proper explanation will be given in electrostatics and fields chapter, which was in the second year. But a few introduction words, simply it is like this. The basic concept behind this is two materials are rubbed against each other. Let us suppose a glass rod which was rubbed against silk cloth, or a silk cloth rubbed on the glass rod like this. A silk cloth. Automatically, this rod or cloth which was rubbed against each other was able to attract the small paper pieces as well as the hair of us, some dust particles like that. That means the body which is able to attract the other is positively charged. Positively charged body means loss of electrons. Means, suppose if the body has contained some 10 protons, 10 electrons, it lost the 5 of it. Means it should replace that 5 in searching of that 5 electrons which was mentioned as electrons or negatively charged particles. In searching of that, it will choose the other object to replace it. As well as silk cloth is also able to attract the other paper particles or other particles. If it is the combing for long interval of time, that comb is very next moment, the comb is able to attract the paper pieces and dust particles. Sometimes in the winter's time, if you wear a sweater, while you are removing the sweater, you can observe that woolen cloth is able to attract the hair which was on the hand or the remaining parts of the body. What is this expression? This expression states about law of conservation of charge. When two bodies rub against each other, whether maybe they are equally charged or oppositely charged, there will be no loss or no gain in the charge. No loss or no gain in the charge. So, loss of a positive magnitude should be maintained by the gain in the negative charge. Therefore, loss in positive charge is equal to gain in negative. And we can expect the vice versa situation is also true. That means loss in negative charge is equal to gain in positive charge. Such like that, this loss is replaced by the gain. So totally the net charge is constant. This is called law of conservation of charge. So charge is conserved. But the only problem is, while a charge is transferring from one body to the another body, there is a possibility for the change in mass. Because each charge is associated with mass. If it is proton, 1.67 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kg. If it is electron, 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg. So there is a possibility for the exchange of the mass, means change in the mass, decrease. Loss means decrease. But there is no change in the charge. That is called law of conservation of charge. So what we can discuss is these all laws are the nature of the physical laws. Physics explains about the conservation of many physical phenomena. As well as now we are going to discuss the unification of the theorems or unification of the statements which were given by the different scientists. The next one is unification of forces. Unification means when there is a clash between the two or more statements. We can say that the gravitational force is the reason to hold us on earth. If any scientist said that the same force is the reason to hold the solar system stable, it may be an unpredictable and simply it's not a good explanation about the gravitational force. But unification deserves it, like it is a combination and accepting the both. If a force is acting at one point, that force is reasonable for the all equalities at anywhere. Such like that, there are many forces: naturally gravitational force, electromagnetic force, electrostatic force. These all forces are unified by different scientists, which made common to all. First one, Isaac Newton. What is his unification? He unified the celestial and terrestrial object forces. Celestial and terrestrial forces. Terrestrial on earth, celestial in space. That's why in solving the space related problems, we are using the gravitational force law to find this. That's why in the chapter gravitation, we will discuss the orbital and escape velocities with the help of gravitational force only. Because he unified it. He unified the celestial and terrestrial forces, as well as he applied the laws of gravitation for all bodies. He applied the law of gravitation to all bodies, or to all objects, we can say, whether it is celestial or terrestrial. This is said to be unification. There is no separation between celestial and terrestrial. The next one is Christian Ørsted and Michael Faraday. Ørsted and Michael Faraday. They both unified about the electrical forces and magnetic forces. And concludingly, they introduced a term to the science that is called electromagnetic force. So what we can expect before these two scientists, Mr. Ørsted observed that a magnetic needle compass box is simply vibrating when it is placed near to the conducting wire. And Michael Faraday experienced that the change in the electric field can produce the EMF, nothing but the Faraday's law of electromagnetism. When these two observed the vice versa conditions, means E to magnetic and magnetic to electric field, they both unified this and introduced the concept of electromagnetic force. There are no waves, according to their opinion, which has the electromagnetic nature. But another scientist, James Maxwell, introduced the concept of optics are also electromagnetic waves. So the next one is James Maxwell. He unified electromagnetic forces with optics, or electromagnetic fields with optics. From his era, he has proved the velocity of electromagnetic field is equal to the velocity of light. So from his era, light is also treated as electromagnetic wave. So he showed that light is an electromagnetic wave. So the fourth one is Sheldon Glashow. Along with two more scientists, Abdus Salam, Steven Weinberg. The contribution of their researches are, they included the weak nuclear interactions as nuclear forces. Weak nuclear interactions, they included in the nuclear forces, and which results to the beta minus and beta plus decays. As well as the unified the electromagnetic force could be viewed as different aspects of single electroweak force. So the electromagnetic force can be viewed as a different aspect of single weak force. It is the unification did by these three scientists called Sheldon Glashow, Abdus Alam and Steven Weinberg. The one more unification is Carlo Rubbia and Simon van der Meer. So what is their invention? We will discuss now. So in the list of unification of forces, the last one is, there are two scientists, Carlo Rubbia and Simon van der Meer. They did the predictions of theory of electroweak forces. Means weak nuclear force which is unified with electrostatic force. The researchers did by these two, and they predicted that this weak nuclear force is some 10 to the power of 25 times of the gravitational force and some 10 to the power of 40 times less than the electrostatic force, such like that they predicted. So here some of the list of some scientists are great physicists and their discoveries and the origin place of their countries. As in the alphabetical order, the first one is Archimedes, one of the great scientists born in Greece. So his major contribution to the society is principle of buoyancy. Such like that, next one is Galileo Galilei from Italy. So his major contribution is law of inertia. Sir Isaac Newton, also called as father of physics, so born in UK, so his major contribution is universal law of gravitation. Such like this, we have some more scientists and their contributions in a form of list. So if you see the another list of great scientists and their discoveries, so we can say the next one is Huygens, Christian Huygens, who has discovered the wave theory of light. The next one is Michael Faraday, but Christian Huygens is from Holland, Michael Faraday is from UK. So he has discussed about the electromagnetic induction. The next great scientist in the order is James Maxwell. He is also from UK. He has discovered the electromagnetic theory. Next one is Hertz from Germany, who has discovered the generation of electromagnetic waves. The next scientist was J.J. Thomson. He is from UK, who has discovered the electron. The next scientist was W.K. Rontgen. He is also set up by William K. Rontgen. So he is from Germany. William K. Rontgen, who has discovered the X-rays. He is the first Nobel laureate in physics. So for his discovery of X-rays really changed the face of the medical field. So next one is Jagadish Chandra Bose from India, who has discovered the ultra short waves. which was helpful for the propagation of radio signals with the help of great Marconi. Next one is Marie Curie from Poland. She has discovered the natural radioactivity. Next one is Millikan, one of the great scientists. He is from USA. Has discovered the charge of electron by his oil drop method. Next one, Ernest Rutherford. He is from New Zealand. So, who has discovered the nuclear model of atom. Next, Niels Bohr from Denmark. So, who has discovered the quantum model of hydrogen atom. The next great scientist was Albert Einstein. From Germany. So, he has discovered the photoelectric effect and theory of relativity. The next great scientist was C.V. Raman from India. He has discovered the inelastic scattering of molecules. Next one, Meghanand Saha. In short form, we can say him as M.N. Saha. So, from India. Has discovered the thermal ionization. So, the next great scientist was S.N. Bose from India. Has explained about the quantum statistics. Next one, the next great scientist was S. Chandrasekhar from India. Has explained about the evolution of stars. The next great scientist was Francis Hertz. He discovered the cosmic radiation. Francis is from Austria, which is near to the Germany. The next great scientist was H.J. Baba, nothing but Homi Jahangir Baba from Bombay, India. That discovers about the cascade nature of cosmic radiation. The next great scientist who has discovered the contribution is de Broglie. So he is from France. has discovered the wave nature of matter. Next one, Fermi. He is from Italy, who has discovered the controlled fission reactions. Controlled nuclear fission. We can say that Fermi was the founder or the inventor of nuclear reactor. The third one is Paul Dirac. He is from UK. Has discovered the relativistic correction of electron or relativistic theory of electron. The next one is Heisenberg. Heisenberg is from Germany. So he has discovered the uncertainty principle, as well as quantum mechanics. Next one is James Chadwick from UK, who has discovered the neutron. The next great scientist was Yukawa from Japan, who has discovered the thermonuclear forces. Thermonuclear forces. Next great scientist was Edwin Hubble. He is from USA. So has discovered the expand of universe or expansion of universe. This concept has a lot of scope in future also. The next scientist was Lev Paridovich Landau. Lev Paridovich Landau, he is from Russia. He has discovered about the thermal condensed matter. The next great scientist was J. Bardeen. He is from USA, who has discovered the transistors. With the help of this transistor, we are making the simple circuits also. So it has also really changed the face of the electronics and electrical equipments. Next one, Abdus Salam from Pakistan, who has discovered the unification of weak nuclear forces and electromagnetic forces. Weak nuclear force and electromagnetic force. These are the list of some 31 scientists who has discovered many concepts that they contributed to the society and for the sake of society, for the benefit of the society. So in this lesson, we have started with what is science, what is physics, the branches of science, the contributions of the different scientists to the society through physics, and we have discussed about the scope of the experiments in physics and the nature of the laws and the different scientists and their discoveries. Like this, we have finished this lesson. So I am concluding this lesson with this concept.